Thank you, Ryan. Hi again, everybody. Hank Alcoholic here. It's so great to be here for this purpose today. It's really, this is the culmination of a long time. And I just want to share a personal fact with you. Ryan was mentioning that the facilitator that has stepped forward to help us do this area inventory, Nikki O from Area 28, the state of Maine. Nikki and I served together at the General Service Conference. She's another pandemic panel 70. And Nikki is the nominee for Northeast Regional Trustee from the state of Maine. And she's online with us today. And I have a text from her right after we did that nomination. Great, we're in the ring together. And, you know, the beauty of Alcoholics Anonymous is the unity of our fellowship. Bill says in the essay on Tradition 1, Bill says that the unity of AA is the most cherished quality our fellowship possesses. And it tells us that we have to place our common welfare first, ahead of our personal aspirations, our personal ambitions. We have to put the common welfare of AA first. And of course, Nikki's message to me is a perfect example of putting the common welfare of AA ahead of, you know, our own ambitions. And that's what we're doing with this inventory. We're putting the common welfare of AA ahead of ourselves so that we build our unity in Area 50. So how are we going to build our unity in Area 50? That's what this inventory is about. And each of us, each member, Francis was saying we've got how many thousand AA members, Francis, in Area 50? Thousands of members in Area 50 and hundreds of groups in Area 50. And we want everyone's voice to be part of our common welfare, our unity in Area 50. And today is the culmination of, thanks to Denise, who made this motion initially that we ought to be doing this inventory. We've been working on this for months to build to this point. And one of the things that's been exciting is, many of you know, I've had the gratitude and blessing to be part of building General Service now for several years in this Turning the Lights On program. And I was thinking about how much service has grown in Area 50 since we started the Turning the Lights On program. And, you know, one of the things I just want to acknowledge my dear friend, Mike D, who was a past delegate who served in the days when General Service was under even greater challenge than it is today in Area 50, keeping the lights on. And now we've flourished so much, but we've just begun this process of growing General Service in Area 50. And we last had an Area 50 inventory in 2015, and getting together and starting to talk about how to build General Service in 2015 that inventory led directly to the explosive growth that you feel around here. And most of us were not here in 2015. But the reason we're here is because of what happened, of how to grow General Service in Area 50. We're doing that again now. We're trying to gather our common wisdom, our common vision. How can we do this better in Area 50? And that inventory process that we're in today, hopefully will gain kind of momentum that's brought us in Area 50 from the point we were in 2015 to where we are today. So you're here on the ground floor, everybody. Thank you so much for what you're doing. And I want to thank, as Ryan maybe mentioned, I'm chairing the ad hoc committee to put this inventory process on, and we have a wonderful committee, some of whom are here in person and some of whom, with the committee members that are here in person, just stand for a second if you wouldn't mind. So Nancy's here, I know Joanne's here, Sandy's here, Patrick is here. This group of people we have been. Thank you so much, everyone, because this group has been meeting weekly since June to put this inventory process together. And one of the first things we did was invite Nikki, and Nikki has provided our spiritual guidance. And when I finally shut up, she'll actually have a message to deliver. But one of the things Nikki urged us to do with this inventory was, she said, we need to hear the voice. She wanted to hear the voice of the area as a whole as to what was important to Area 50 to cover in the inventory. So last September, at our last assembly, we had a set of roundtables, and we've reached out to the area and said, what's important to you in the area? How are we going to build? What are the issues we should be looking at now? What are the questions we should be asking ourselves? And this was Nikki's suggestion. And you guys stepped forward in Area 50, and you gave us all kinds of input about what you thought we should be discussing in this inventory. And we took all of that information and all went to Nikki, and Nikki formulated, based on your input, Nikki formulated the questions that we're going to be discussing today. And before we actually get to that discussion, I just want to talk a little bit about the mechanics of what we're going to be doing. Thank you very much. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And stand here too. So the poor people have to look at me, right? Okay. So the mechanics are what we are doing is a group conscience. Okay. What we are doing is a fourth step inventory. And one of the things the big book tells us is the inventory should be written. Okay, so that we can look in black and white at who we are and what we're doing. Where do we stand today? And the big book tells us that a group that does not take a regular inventory is headed for bankruptcy. That's what we're doing. Are we on track? How do we dispose of the unsaleable goods? What do we want to do to move forward with the business of saving lives in Alcoholics Anonymous? And we need to put that in writing. We need to make that a group conscience, as Tradition 2 says, so that Area 50 can be unified in a group conscience as to how we're going to move forward and carry that message. So today we have Nikki's questions in front of us. We have a questionnaire. We're going to be discussing those questions, both in small groups, online and in person. And I'm going to ask, where's Joanne, by the way? Is she here in the room? Yeah, here she is. When in a second, and Joe, I'm going to, after Nikki talks, I'm going to ask you to come up and you and Nancy can tell us what we're going to be doing here in person and online. But what we're going to do is we're going to discuss these questions. And that will help develop an informed group conscience. It will help build a common viewpoint in the area. And then we're going to, after we do these small group roundtables, we'll bring everybody back. And as we did last time, we'll do report backs from each of the groups, both the online groups and the in-person groups. And you'll hear what everybody's thinking was in the small groups. But then we're going to take another step that we didn't take last time, because we're trying to build a common vision here. So we'll have, if time permits, we'll have an opportunity to discuss the report backs from the small tables and get everybody's input. Now, what happens? That'll be what we do today. We'll go over these questions online and in person and try to have a group conscience begin to develop. And then after we finish today, we're going to ask you to fill out those questionnaires. And we're going to ask you to take those questionnaires back to your home groups. We also have other groups set up by service committees, the officers. We're asking the officers to get together. We're asking the DCMs to get together. We're asking the service committee chairs, the intergroups, the GSRs to get together. We want collective views and individual views. So we've allowed until December 10th to have everybody gather together, develop a group conscience, and send these in. And then Nikki and I are going to go over them, all of the responses. We'll do that with the input of the committee. And the goal is to have a final report of what we're learning that the area believes, and to make that report at the first assembly in January. So that's the process we're going to go through. I'm going to turn the mic over to Nikki, who's going to speak online about her vision for what Area 50 is doing, and then ask Joanne and Nancy to walk us through the logistics. Okay, thank you very much. Nikki, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Hank. Thanks, everybody. I keep getting a little bit cut out. So Denise, you're the only one I see continuing to move, or somebody, if you can't hear me, can somebody let me know? Because I don't know if it's my internet or not. But anyway, my name is Nikki. I'm an alcoholic. Grateful to be a part of anything that has to do with Alcoholics Anonymous. And I'm also humbled and honored to have gotten the call asking me to be part of such a really big deal. And an area inventory is, it's noble and needed and daring. And so I joined the group as many times as I could. And we met on Wednesdays mostly, sometimes a Thursday here and there. But basically what it comes down to for me personally is I have never, in all of my years, never worked with a group of people who cared so much about getting this right. Generally speaking, I've done a couple of area inventories. I've been asked to show up and do the 12 traditions questions, and maybe get through 12 of them, maybe get through 6, and have very little interaction after that. So this is exciting for me, not only to be part of it, but to see what the results are. Hopefully everybody knows that the email address that you can contact me at is a50ttlo inventory@gmail.com. And I'm sure that will either go in the chat or you have it in front of you, but it's Area 50 turning the lights on inventory. And I am so impressed with the amount of work that has been done with this. The initial emails that I was getting blew me away, really. That made it possible for me to come up with these questions. They're all your questions, just in my words, because I couldn't put them all together. But I have to tell you that this committee is awesome. Unbelievable. I know I've said it, it's probably obvious, but there's a lot of work going into this, lots of text messages and emails and things. So it's really important that we get your voice, everybody's voice. And I told this to the committee multiple times, the amount of camaraderie that happened within the committee, which amidst people that I don't think have been close forever and ever. Maybe some of them just met. I don't know the history, but I watched people working through some difficult stuff and getting to the other side of it. And I got some responses to inventories, to the initial inventory questions that said, I don't know what that means. I don't know what area does. I don't know. And to me, you've already had a successful inventory. To have people say, I don't know, and are interested in getting the answers, that's success to me. And so everything beyond this is cake, people, I promise you. And I look forward to getting the emails and working with Hank and whoever else on the committee is interested in working on that and supplying you with some, I don't know, maybe some ideas of what can be done. I know that in my area, one of the things that we did is we had not had an inventory for a while, and then we did, and then we didn't. And um, now we have an inventory the first Sunday in December of the first year of the panel, so that the panel gets the opportunity to do a little bit of work and then come together. And we had to do a motion, and we had to do, that typical back and forth, and the right words had to be said and done. And we did that. And now that is part of our workbook. So that's really neat. It's difficult to follow Hank because he said everything that I probably would have. It's even more difficult to follow Francis, who, well, I'm not even going to try. But again, I'm super grateful, and I'm fighting back saying something, but I'm going to say it now. Whenever I'm doing this whole qualification or thank you or whatever, I just sort of want to say, I like long walks on the beach. I enjoy dogs and pasta dinners. And I don't know what that's about for me, but I'm with Francis. Hopefully that wasn't recorded, but I see that it was. So if we can just make sure that the email address is available to everybody and you can put it in the chat. I think Justin or Joanne are responsible for that. And I would ask that everybody give this committee a round of applause. And then the other question I have is how many people are in the room physically? And with that, I am done. Thank you.